course, if I had these numbers while I was being guarded by Isabelle Harrison, I might be crying too. I might be crying too. Izzy Harrison had Angel Reese in hell. Uh, Angel Soft? Anybody? Is that what we saw? Angel Soft. I'm more of a Charmin cat myself, but a lot of people like Angel Soft.
She was crying on national television, not from pain, not from joy, something else entirely, and nobody in that arena understood what they had just watched until the replays started rolling, frame by frame, second by second, exposing a moment that would split an entire fan base down the middle within hours. What you're about to hear is not just the story of a basketball foul. It's the story of a friendship that quietly turned into a battlefield, a reputation that nearly cracked in real time, and a single 6-second sequence that the internet still cannot agree on. Some people watched it and saw an assault. Others watched it and saw justice. Almost nobody walked away neutral. So let's go back to the beginning, because the ending only makes sense once you understand exactly how we got there. Picture a sold-out arena in Toronto, the kind of electric atmosphere a brand-new expansion franchise dreams about, the tempo hosting the Atlanta Dream in a matchup that on paper looked like a routine mid-season game between a scrappy young roster and a playoff contender. But basketball insiders knew better. Buried inside this matchup was a storyline most casual fans had completely forgotten about. 2 years earlier, in a Chicago locker room, a veteran forward named Isabelle Harrison had quietly mentored a rookie phenom who was about to become one of the most famous athletes in the sport. That rookie was Angel Reese. Harrison had spent a season as her teammate, her training partner, the player who guided her through the chaos of an instantly viral rookie campaign. They knew each other's footwork. They knew each other's tendencies in the post. They knew, more importantly, exactly how to get under each other's skin. And on this particular afternoon, that shared history was about to detonate. From the opening tip, something felt different. Harrison wasn't playing like a role player trying to survive a tough matchup. She was playing like someone with a point to prove, attacking the paint possession after possession, fighting for deep post position with a physicality that immediately caught the attention of everyone watching courtside. By the time the third quarter rolled around, she had already piled up 17 points, manhandling her way through contact that would have sent most defenders retreating. And the player absorbing the brunt of that punishment was Reese herself, the same player whose entire public persona had been built around toughness, rebounding domination, and an unshakable refusal to back down from anyone. For 3 quarters, something looked off. The body language was tense. The footing seemed unsteady. Every time Reese tried to plant her feet in the post, Harrison was already there first, shoulder down, forcing her backward instead of the other way around. Cameras kept catching the two of them jawing at each other after dead balls, slapping the ball away, exchanging words that the broadcast microphones couldn't quite pick up, but everyone could read on their faces. This wasn't a normal divisional rivalry. This was personal. And the league's social media accounts were about to feel the full force of that tension. As the chatter online intensified, a single word kept resurfacing again and again in comment sections and group chats. Soft. It is without question one of the most loaded accusations you can throw at a professional athlete, especially one whose marketing, whose entire brand identity, is built around dominance in the paint. Critics began connecting the dots in real time, arguing that a former teammate, a veteran with far less name recognition, was exposing a vulnerability nobody had predicted. Defenders pushed back immediately, reminding everyone that physical post play against a 6'3", 12-year veteran is brutal under any circumstances. But the noise kept building. And noise in this sport, in this era of basketball, has a way of becoming its own kind of pressure. With just over 6 minutes remaining in the third quarter, Atlanta holding a comfortable lead, the moment everyone sensed was coming finally arrived. Reese sealed Harrison off in the paint, fighting for the position she had been chasing all afternoon, and the entry pass came in clean. For a split second, it looked like a normal post move. Then, everything changed. Harrison reached over Reese's shoulders, wrapped her arms across her chest, and yanked her backward to the hardwood in one violent motion. It wasn't a shove. It wasn't a typical hard foul. It looked, to a lot of stunned eyes, like something pulled directly out of a different sport entirely. The whistle exploded almost instantly. Players from both benches sprinted onto the court. Reese's teammates rushed in to separate the two players as the crowd noise climbed into something close to chaos. And then, almost as quickly as it started, the energy in the building shifted into something quieter, heavier, more uncertain. Because everyone knew what was coming next, a replay review. The officials gathered at the scorer's table while 60 seconds felt like 10 minutes. Every angle got slowed down, paused, rewound, examined frame by frame on the giant screen above center court. Was this excessive? Was this unnecessary? Those two words carry enormous weight in basketball's rulebook, the precise legal language separating a routine common foul from something far more serious. Fans inside the arena leaned forward in their seats, phones already raised, recording the verdict before it had even been delivered. When the head official finally turned back toward the court and raised both arms to signal a flagrant 2, the building practically detonated. Automatic ejection. No appeal. No second chance. Isabelle Harrison, the Tempo's leading scorer in that exact moment, the emotional engine of her team's offense, was done for the day. She walked off slowly, expression unreadable, while chaos rippled through the stands behind her. But here's where the story takes its sharpest turn, the moment that would dominate headlines far longer than the foul itself. As play resumed and the broadcast cameras swept across the Atlanta bench, they landed on Angel Reese, visibly shaken, eyes glassy, clearly fighting back tears in front of a national television audience. The clip spread within minutes. Screenshots, slow-motion zooms, side-by-side comparisons flooded every platform simultaneously. And almost instantly the internet split into two furious camps. One side saw raw vulnerability, a young superstar processing real physical pain, and the surreal pressure of being one of the most scrutinized athletes in her sport, someone allowed to feel something without it becoming ammunition. The other side saw something far less sympathetic, framing the tears as confirmation of everything the critics had been saying all game long, evidence that the toughness narrative had finally cracked under genuine pressure. Neither side was fully willing to back down. Sports debate shows picked up the story within the hour. Former players weighed in publicly, some defending Harrison's physicality as old-school basketball that the modern league had grown too soft to tolerate, others calling the play exactly what the officials called it, a dangerous overreach that crossed a clear safety line. Buried underneath all of that noise was a quieter, more human question that almost nobody was asking out loud. What does it actually feel like to be physically dominated for 3 quarters by someone who used to protect you, used to mentor you, used to have your back in a locker room before either of you became household names in this league? That tension, the kind cameras can capture but never fully explain, was sitting right there in plain sight the entire game, and almost nobody noticed it. Until the moment everything boiled over. Meanwhile, on the Tempo's side of the story, the consequences kept stacking up. Losing your leading scorer and emotional anchor in the middle of a tightly contested quarter is the kind of gut punch that can collapse a team's entire structure within minutes. And that's almost exactly what happened. Without Harrison patrolling the paint, Atlanta's offense suddenly found space it hadn't had access to for the entire first half. The interior defense that had been suffocating them for 3 quarters evaporated. Atlanta pulled away in dramatic fashion, eventually closing out a commanding 102-77 victory, a final score that looked far more lopsided on paper than the actual battle that had unfolded in real time. But the most fascinating twist of the entire night was still waiting in the box score, hidden behind everything else. Despite the fall, despite the tears, despite an entire online audience debating her toughness in real time, Angel Reese did not disappear after that moment. She didn't shrink. She came back onto the floor and delivered one of the most dominant rebounding performances of her entire season, finishing with 17 total boards and a career-high 11 offensive rebounds, one shy of tying a league record that has stood for years. 15 points. A 9th double-double on the season. A complete statistical rebuttal to every single person who had spent the previous hour calling her soft. That detail alone completely reframes everything that came before it. The same player who appeared emotionally overwhelmed on camera just minutes earlier turned around and physically outworked an entire roster on the glass for the remainder of the game. Resilience, it turns out, doesn't always look like a clenched jaw and an aggressive stare down. Sometimes it looks exactly like what happened here. Get knocked down hard, in front of millions of people, process whatever you're feeling in real time, and then go right back to dominating the exact part of the game where you were just challenged. And on the other side of that story sits Isabelle Harrison, a 12-year veteran who, depending entirely on which corner of the internet you ask, is either the gritty enforcer who got unfairly ejected for playing real basketball, or a player who let a personal rivalry push her several steps past the line of acceptable physical contact. Under the league's updated conduct rules, that single flagrant call now sits dangerously close to triggering an automatic suspension if she picks up even one more serious infraction this season, meaning the fallout from this single sequence could follow her for weeks. Two former teammates, two completely different public narratives, one 6-second sequence that nobody in that arena will ever forget. And maybe that's really what makes this story so impossible to look away from. It isn't really about a foul, or an ejection, or even the final score. It's about how quickly the internet decided it understood exactly what those tears meant, how fast a single emotional frame can override 3/4 of genuine competitive fire, and how, in the end, the only people who truly know what happened in that moment are the two women who shared a locker room together long before either of them ever shared a basketball court as opponents. Everyone else is just guessing, freezing frames, and arguing into the void, while the only verified fact left standing by the final buzzer is the one written permanently into the record book. Atlanta won big, Reese bounced back bigger, and somewhere in Toronto, a veteran forward is sitting with an ejection, a viral villain edit, and a question that will follow her into every future matchup against her former understudy. Would she do it again?